Officer Jake Daniels slammed Maya Richardson face first against the courthouse marble. The impact was sickening, a sound that made bystanders wince and look away. Her briefcase exploded open on contact, the expensive clasps giving way under the force of the collision, metal snapping with a violence that matched the moment. Legal files scattered like confetti across the pristine white steps, pages catching the morning breeze and dancing away from the violence that had freed them. 3 cops pinned her down, their combined weight pressing her cheek into the cold stone, grinding her face into marble that had been walked on by thousands of people seeking justice. Zip ties cut into her wrists, biting into soft skin as they were ratcheted tight. Too tight. The kind of tight that leaves marks for days. The kind of tight that says this isn't procedure. This is personal. This is punishment for some offense they've already decided she committed just by standing there. Tuesday morning, 8:47 a.m., Jefferson County Courthouse steps. The sun was already warm, promising a beautiful day that would turn ugly before most people had finished their morning coffee. Maya was 42 years old. Her navy suit was perfectly tailored, pressed that morning with the kind of attention to detail that speaks to someone who understands the importance of first impressions. She attempted to enter through the main doors, the same doors that thousands of citizens walk through every day without incident. Officer Jake Daniels blocked her path. He stood with his thumbs hooked in his belt, positioned wider than necessary, blocking the doorway completely, like a bouncer at a club, deciding who gets in. Employee entrances around back, sweetheart. Maya held up her courthouse summons. Official paper. Official seal. The kind of document that should open any door in the American justice system. Daniels snatched it without reading. His eyes never even glanced at the words. He crumpled it slightly in his grip, a small act of disrespect that said everything about what came next. Don't care what you think you have. You don't belong here. She pulled away when he grabbed her arm. An instinct, a human reaction to being manhandled by a stranger. He called for backup. 2 words that changed everything. 2 more officers arrived within seconds. They came running like they'd been waiting for this, like the morning briefing had promised some action. They forced her to the ground as the morning crowd watched in silence, paralyzed by the sight of authority exercising itself without restraint. Have you ever been treated like a criminal for simply existing in the wrong place at the wrong time? Have you ever had someone look at you and decide, in half a second, that you don't belong? That your presence is a problem to be solved? ****. Before we go deeper into this story, take a second and hit that subscribe button. Give this video a like, and let us know where you're watching from. I'm curious to know how far these stories travel. ****. This is one of those real-life stories that reminds us how everything can change in an instant, how a single encounter can expose the fault lines that run beneath the surface of everyday America. Daniel stood with his thumbs hooked in his belt. His eyes swept over Maya from head to toe. That look, the one that calculated worth in half a second and came up empty. The one that saw a navy suit and expensive shoes but couldn't process them on a black woman on these steps. You lost, honey? His voice dripped with false concern, the kind that's really contempt wearing a thin mask. Social services is 3 blocks down. Maya straightened her shoulders. She knew this dance. Had seen it performed in body cam footage from 100 different cities. But knowing the steps doesn't make it easier when you're the one being led. I have official business. Please step aside. Let me guess. Daniel smirked, revealing teeth that needed a dentist's attention. Jury duty? They're really scraping the bottom of the barrel these days. She kept her voice level, practiced, the tone she'd learned to use when every fiber of her being wanted to scream. I have an appointment at 9. I'm going to be late. Daniels pulled his radio from his belt with exaggerated casualness. Yeah, dispatch. We got another one trying the front entrance. The dispatcher's voice crackled back. Female. Tired. Again? That's the 3rd one this week. Maya's jaw tightened. 3rd one. A pattern. Black visitors routinely redirected, delayed, questioned at this courthouse. She'd read the reports, Had them memorized, actually. Could cite the statistics in her sleep. Now she was living one. She was becoming a data point. "Ma'am, I need you to step back." Daniels moved closer, invading her space with practiced aggression. "I'm not moving until you check your daily briefing. Don't tell me how to do my job." A court reporter exited the building behind Daniels. White woman, probably in her 50s, briefcase in one hand, walking with the hurried pace of someone who has places to be. She stopped cold when she saw the confrontation. Her other hand went to her phone. She started recording. Daniels noticed immediately. His head swiveled toward the screen like a predator sensing movement. "Ma'am, you need to put that away. Police business." The reporter didn't lower her phone. Didn't even flinch. Public property. First Amendment. More people gathered. Lawyers in expensive suits pausing mid-stride. Defendants clutching paperwork, grateful the attention wasn't on them for once. Courthouse staff pressed against windows on the second floor, their morning coffee forgotten. Maya remained absolutely still. She didn't resist, but she didn't comply with the move-along orders either. Her briefcase sat open on the steps where Daniels had knocked it. Contents partially visible. An embossed leather portfolio with gold lettering that read, "Office of the Chief." Business cards scattered nearby, gold-edged and official. A sealed manila envelope, marked, "Confidential Personnel Review." Nobody looked closely enough. Nobody bent down to read the words that would have changed everything. Sergeant William Harris arrived, older and heavier than Daniels. 52 years on his face and 22 on the force, the kind of veteran who'd seen everything and learned nothing. "What's the situation?" "Refusing to comply. Attempted unauthorized entry. Possibly trespassing." Daniels rattled it off like a script he'd memorized. Like accusations he'd made so many times they came automatically. Maya spoke clearly. "I'm here for a 9 a.m. appointment. Check your daily briefing." Harris didn't check anything. Didn't even reach for his phone or radio. "Appointment with who?" "I'd prefer to discuss that inside." "Answer the question or you're under arrest for obstruction." Maya went silent. Not submission. Strategy. She watched Harris's face. Watched him mistake her silence for weakness. Watched him feel the power he thought he had. His expression showed the satisfaction of a man who believed he'd won. Harris nodded to Daniels. "Cuff her." The takedown was brutal. Daniels grabbed her arm and twisted with a violence that was unnecessary by any standard of training. Maya's body went sideways. Her head hit marble with an audible crack that made the crowd gasp. Someone screamed. Her reading glasses skittered across the steps, one lens shattering into fragments that caught the morning sun like tiny diamonds of destruction. They lifted her roughly. Her courthouse ID badge tumbled from an inner pocket, landing face down on the marble. Sergeant Harris's boot stepped directly on top of it. He didn't notice. Didn't look down. Didn't care. "Show's over." Daniels pointed at the crowd with the arrogance of a man who knows no consequence. "Disperse, or you're next." The court reporter kept filming. Her phone screen showed a live stream caption, "Breaking. Police brutality at Jefferson County Courthouse." The view counter climbed. 47. 89. 124. They dragged Maya to a side alley, forced her into a seated position against the wall, like discarded garbage. Blood trickled from her temple, dark against her brown skin, warm and slow. She finally spoke again. "I need my briefcase." Harris actually laughed. The sound was ugly, dismissive, the laughter of a man who finds entertainment in another's distress. "You need a lawyer, is what you need." But there were clues everywhere if anyone had looked. Her watch caught the light. Limited edition Tag Heuer Carrera. The kind that costs more than most people make in 3 months. Her phone, still in her pocket, had a blue emergency stripe, government-issued secure device. Her briefcase lining showed a Department of Justice credential holder partially visible under scattered papers. They saw none of it. They saw what they expected to see, what they'd been trained to see, what the system had taught them to see over years of unchecked pattern and practice. They saw a black woman on courthouse steps, and their brains filled in the rest. Maya sat against that wall, blood on her face, hands bound behind her back, and watched the clock on the courthouse tower. 8:59. Her appointment time approaching. The most important meeting of her career about to start without her. And she was sitting in an alley, zip-tied and bleeding, being guarded by men who had no idea what they'd just done. Harris crouched in front of her, his knees popping with the effort. "You want to tell me what you were really doing here?" She met his eyes. Her voice was perfectly calm, the calm of certainty. "You'll find out." Threatening an officer now? Stating a fact. Daniels kicked her briefcase. Papers fluttered in the morning breeze, dancing away from the violence that had scattered them. Probably doesn't even have a real appointment. Probably just another one trying to cause trouble. The court reporter's live stream hit 300 viewers. Then, 500. The comment section filled rapidly with people who recognized the location, people sharing similar stories, people asking questions that no one in authority wanted to answer. Someone in the crowd, a courthouse staff member who'd seen the badge before Harris stepped on it, pulled out his own phone. He wasn't filming. He was texting. The message went to 3 people in rapid succession. Then those 3 people made phone calls that would change everything. But Maya didn't know that yet. She sat in the alley, hands bound, blood drying on her face, one of the most powerful positions in Jefferson County law enforcement, waiting for her in a ceremony room upstairs. And she couldn't reach it because the officers sworn to protect and serve had decided she didn't belong. The irony wasn't lost on her. She'd spent 12 years at the Department of Justice investigating exactly this kind of behavior. She'd written reports, filed recommendations, testified before federal judges about patterns of discrimination in police departments across the country. She'd never expected to become a case study in her own research. Her phone rang inside the evidence bag Daniels carried. Official ringtone, the kind that signals department business. He ignored it. It rang again at 9:03. Her appointment time passed while she sat in an alley. It rang a third time at 9:15. Daniels walked back into the alley, annoyed now. "Who keeps calling you?" Maya looked up at him. Her voice was perfectly calm. "People who are expecting me." They processed her in the courthouse basement, cold concrete and fluorescent lights that hummed too loud, the kind of environment designed to strip dignity from everyone who entered. The processing officer was younger, Latino, maybe 30. He scanned her belongings with professional detachment. "No ID?" "It fell during the arrest," Maya said. "Badge number JC 2471. He typed into the system, frowned, typed again. "System's not pulling anything up. You sure about that number?" "Certain. Try the state database." "Can't access that without supervisor approval." He glanced at the clock. Going to be a wait. 9:30. Her ceremony was happening without her, or postponed, or canceled. Maya closed her eyes and focused on breathing. In through the nose, out through the mouth. The meditation technique she'd learned in therapy after the Baltimore case. The one with the teenager and the videotape and the riots that burned for days. At 9:22, above ground, the court reporter's live stream hit 3,400 viewers. A local news producer scrolling through his morning feed saw the thumbnail. Woman face down on courthouse steps, 3 cops on her back. He grabbed his keys and dispatched a van. The comment section was exploding. Someone wrote, "That's the 3rd black woman arrested there this month." Another replied, "Jefferson PD has a history. Google the 2019 lawsuit." A third comment, "Anyone recognize her? She looks familiar." At 9:35, the news van pulled up outside. The reporter from earlier was still there, still streaming, her phone battery probably nearly dead, but her determination fully charged. She gave them the footage. They interviewed witnesses. A courthouse staff member spoke, on condition of anonymity. White, male, nervous hands, twisting together. "I saw her badge. It said, Chief something, I think." "Chief?" The news reporter leaned in. "Chief of what?" Couldn't see clearly. Officer kicked it under his boot right after it fell. At 9:41, Jefferson PD headquarters, 3 blocks away. The social media intern was a young black woman fresh out of college, hired to manage the department's online presence, and already wondering if she'd made the right career choice. She was monitoring trending tags on her second screen when she saw it. Number Jefferson PD. Number police brutality. Number courthouse steps. Her stomach dropped. She ran to Deputy Chief Martinez's office without knocking, protocol forgotten in the urgency of the moment. Martinez looked up from his paperwork, annoyed at the interruption. Then he saw her face. "Sir, you need to see this." She turned her phone around. Martinez watched 15 seconds of the live stream footage. His face drained of color, like someone had opened a valve. He stood so fast his chair rolled backward and hit the wall with a bang. "Tell me that's not who I think it is." The intern pointed at the briefcase in the video, the scattered papers, the envelope with gold lettering. "Sir, when's the swearing in?" Martinez checked his watch. His voice came out strangled. "Today, 10 a.m. He grabbed his jacket. "Jesus Christ. Asterisk, asterisk. Right now I want you to pause and think about what Deputy Chief Martinez must have felt in that moment, watching his soon-to-be boss getting brutalized by his own officers, knowing he had minutes to try to fix the unfixable. If you were Martinez, what would you do? Asterisk. Asterisk. He was running before he finished putting on his jacket, down the stairs because the elevator was too slow, out the back door, 3 blocks at a sprint. People on the sidewalk stared at the Deputy Chief of Police, running full speed in his dress uniform, gold braid flying. At 9:48, Martinez burst into the courthouse basement. He found Maya still in the holding cell. An EMT was finally checking her head wound, shining a penlight in her eyes. Daniels and Harris stood in the corner, filling out paperwork, confident in their morning's work. Martinez saw Maya through the bars. His face went from panic to horror to something that looked like physical pain. Chief Richardson. Daniels and Harris froze. Their pens stopped moving. The scratching of pen on paper that had filled the basement went silent. Daniels looked up slowly, his face registering confusion first, then recognition, then pure dread. The kind of dread that settles in when you realize you've just ended your own career in spectacular fashion. Maya looked at Martinez. Her voice was arctic. "Deputy Chief Martinez, thank you for joining us." Martinez was fumbling with his words, tripping over syllables. "There's been a terrible misunderstanding." "No misunderstanding." Maya's voice cut through the basement like a blade. "I showed my summons. I identified myself. I complied with every lawful order." Daniel stepped forward. His voice shook with the tremor of a man watching his world collapse. "Chief? You're the new chief?" Maya didn't look at him. She kept her eyes on Martinez. "Unlock the cell." Martinez turned to the processing officer, his voice a command now. "Now." At 9:52, the cell door swung open. Maya stood slowly, deliberately, taking her time to straighten her torn jacket. Blood still stained her face, drying now into a dark mask of what had been done to her. Martinez offered her a tissue. She refused it. "I want to see the footage. All of it. Body cams, security feeds, the live stream." "Of course. I'll have tech pull everything." "Not here. Conference room A. And I want the mayor's office on the line." She walked toward the stairs, then turned back. Her voice carried the authority of someone who had just been given every justification she needed. "Officers Daniels and Harris, you're to remain in the building. Consider yourselves on administrative duty." Harris took a step forward, his face red with defiance. "This is bull." Maya's voice dropped 20 degrees. "Finish that sentence and add insubordination to your jacket." She climbed the courthouse steps, the same steps where she'd been assaulted 63 minutes ago. News cameras were filming now, multiple vans. Reporters positioning themselves for the best angle, jockeying for position like they could smell the story that was about to break. Staff members parted like water as she approached. She left a trail behind her. Small blood droplets on white marble. Physical evidence of every step. Judge Morrison exited the courtroom on the second floor. 65 years old, white hair perfectly combed, 30 years on the bench. He saw her and stopped dead. Good God, Chief Richardson. What happened? Maya looked up at him. A teaching moment, Your Honor. The ceremony will proceed as planned. The courthouse erupted in whispers. Chief Richardson, the new chief. The woman they just watched get brutalized on live stream was the new chief of police. Behind her, Daniel sat down hard on the basement steps. His hands were shaking. Harris stood frozen, his face gray. They just assaulted their new boss. On her first day. On camera. In front of hundreds of witnesses. Martinez was on his phone, calling the mayor's office, his voice urgent. We have a situation. No. Worse than that. Much worse. The live stream was at 8,000 viewers now. People were sharing it across platforms. Jefferson PD was trending nationally. The comments shifted tone. Someone wrote, "Did they seriously just arrest their own chief?" Another, "This is the most Jefferson PD thing I've ever seen." A third, "Anyone taking bets on how fast those officers get fired?" Asterisk, asterisk. Before we continue, take a second and share your thoughts so far on this story below. I read every single one. What's going through your mind right now? Asterisk, asterisk. At 10:07, City Hall Auditorium. 200 people waiting. The mayor at the podium, mid-sentence about making history. Then, Maya entered through the rear door. Still bloodied, still disheveled, torn jacket, shattered glasses dangling from one ear. The room went silent. You could hear breathing, someone's phone buzzing, the air conditioning cycling on. The mayor stopped talking. Maya, do you need medical? I need to take my oath of office. Maya walked down the center aisle, past department heads in their dress uniforms, past the police commission, past reporters and community leaders and family members who'd come to celebrate. Commissioner Webb stood up, horror written across his face. He whispered, "We can postpone. Get you cleaned up." Maya walked to the microphone. She looked at the audience, then at the screen behind her. She pulled a small remote from her torn pocket and clicked it. The live stream screenshot appeared on the screen, her face pressed into marble, 3 officers on her back, blood visible, crowd of witnesses surrounding the scene. The room erupted. Maya's voice cut through the chaos. "Ladies and gentlemen, I apologize for my appearance." The crowd noise dropped to murmurs. 1 hour ago, 3 of my officers arrested me for attempting to enter a public building while black. She let that sink in, watching faces. Some people looked shocked. Others looked angry. A few looked like they'd been expecting something like this for years. Those were the faces that hurt most. The ones who weren't surprised. Maya opened her recovered briefcase. Papers had been shoved back in haphazardly. She pulled out a manila folder. Officer Jake Daniels, 15-year veteran. She opened it and began reading. 4 excessive force complaints. 3 resolved with the department paying settlements. 0 disciplinary actions. She projected his file on the screen behind her. Let everyone see it. Employment record. Complaint history. Settlement amounts. $45,000. $62,000. $83,000. All taxpayer money. All confidential agreements. Until now. Sergeant William Harris, 22-year veteran. His file went up next. 7 complaints. 5 related to racial profiling. Settlement total. $347,000 of taxpayer money. Commissioner Webb was standing now. His face was red. Chief Richardson, this isn't what, Commissioner? Maya touched her temple. Her fingers came away with fresh blood. She held them up. Appropriate? Neither was slamming my head into marble. The room went dead silent. I spent 12 years at the Department of Justice's Civil Rights Division. I've investigated 43 police departments across this country. I've seen this pattern in Cleveland. in Ferguson, in Baltimore, in Phoenix. I've documented it. I've testified about it. I've written federal consent decrees to address it. She reached into her briefcase again, pulled out a sealed envelope. But I've never experienced it. Not like this. Not on what was supposed to be the proudest day of my career. She broke the seal. Inside was a document, official letterhead, multiple signatures. She held it up so the cameras could see. Before we proceed with this ceremony, I need to share something. 3 months ago, before I accepted this position, I was still working at DOJ, and I submitted a recommendation. She projected the document. Federal Consent Decree Draft, Jefferson Police Department. The room exploded again. 38 civil rights complaints in 18 months. Statistical analysis showing a pattern of discriminatory enforcement. Constitutional violations documented across multiple categories. Traffic stops. Use of force. Arrest procedures. Search and seizure. Commissioner Webb tried to interrupt. You had no authority. Maya turned on him. Her voice was steel. I had every authority. I was a federal attorney when I submitted this. It's been under review by the U.S. District Court for 12 weeks. She clicked to the next slide. Signature page. Judge Morrison's name typed at the bottom. Approval pending final review. That was my 9 a.m. appointment this morning, in Judge Morrison's chambers, to discuss this consent decree. The twist hit the room like a physical force. People leaned forward. Reporters typed frantically. Commissioner Webb sat down hard. I was coming to withdraw this recommendation. She let that land. Watched comprehension dawn on faces throughout the auditorium. I believed I could reform this department from within. That federal oversight wouldn't be necessary. That, given the chance, given the authority, given the support of this community, we could fix ourselves. I spent 6 weeks preparing a comprehensive reform package, training protocols, accountability measures, community oversight structures, everything we needed to avoid federal intervention. Maya's voice got quieter. Everyone leaned in to hear. 63 minutes changed my mind. She placed her hand on the Bible held by the city clerk. I'm ready to take my oath. Then we'll discuss what happens next. The ceremony proceeded in stunned silence. Maya repeated the words. Swore to uphold the Constitution, to serve and protect, to faithfully execute the duties of her office. Her voice never wavered. The blood on her face caught the camera lights. When she finished, she turned to face the crowd. Officer Daniels and Sergeant Harris are suspended without pay pending investigation. Deputy Chief Martinez, you have operational command until I return from medical evaluation. She looked at Commissioner Webb. We'll speak privately within the hour. Bring the personnel files for every officer with 3 or more complaints in the past 5 years. To the mayor, schedule an emergency city council session tomorrow night. We have systemic problems requiring systemic solutions. To the press, interviews at 2 p.m. Come with specific questions about use of force policies, complaint procedures, and federal oversight. I'll answer everything. She walked off the stage. Medics were waiting. They tried to guide her to an ambulance. She waved them off. Clean the wound here. I have work to do. Behind her, the auditorium dissolved into chaos. Reporters shouting questions. Officials huddling in corners. The live stream from earlier being replayed on phones throughout the room. People watching the assault, then looking at Maya standing there giving orders, then back at the video. The math wasn't adding up in their heads. How does someone go from face down on courthouse steps to commanding a room in under 2 hours? How does someone maintain that level of composure after that level of humiliation? The answer was simple. Maya had been preparing for this moment for 12 years. Not this specific moment, but moments like it. Moments where the system showed its true face, where the statistics became personal, where the pattern became visceral. She just never expected to become her own case study. Asterisk. Before we go deeper, I would love to hear your point of view. Tell me what part hit you the hardest in this story, and share your thoughts in the comments. Asterisk. Asterisk. At 11:30, a private conference room. Present. Mayor Chen, Commissioner Webb, the city attorney, and police union president Jim Kowalski. Kowalski was a white man in his late 40s, 24 years on the force before moving to union leadership. He'd fought every reform attempt for the past decade. He opened with his usual tactic. "Chief, we need to discuss your public statements. You've prejudiced any investigation. Daniels and Harris have due process rights." Maya slid a folder across the table. Kowalski opened it. His face changed. "Settlement agreements, 2019 to present. 12 incidents, $1.2 million paid. All confidential. All with non-disclosure agreements binding the victims to silence." The city attorney shifted in his seat. Maya kept going. "That ends today. Every settlement, every complaint, every body cam file, every internal investigation, public, recorded, online, searchable database, full transparency." Kowalski found his voice. "You can't do that. Those agreements are legally binding. On the victims, not on the department. And as chief, I have discretion over public records requests. So yes, I can do that. I will do that this afternoon." She stood and walked to the projector, pulled up a spreadsheet she'd prepared the night before. She'd been planning to present this on day 30. Today was day 1. Plans change. Use of force statistics. Last 3 years. Black residents account for 37% of force incidents, but 12% of the population. Traffic stops show black drivers 3.2 times more likely to be searched than white drivers. Arrest rates show disparate impact in 23 of 28 offense categories. Commissioner Webb tried to interrupt. "These numbers need context." "I have context." Maya clicked to the next slide. Body cam footage compilation. Officers using different tones, different tactics, different levels of force, based solely on the race of the person they encountered. One clip showed a white woman speeding, getting a warning and a smile. The next clip showed a black man going the same speed on the same road. Ordered from his vehicle, car searched, detained for 40 minutes. Same officer, same day, same violation. "Cherry-picked examples," Kowalski said, but his voice lacked conviction. "I have 40 hours of footage. Would you like to watch it all?" Maya clicked off the projector. "This isn't about 2 bad officers. This is institutional. This is systemic. This is what happens when accountability becomes optional." Mayor Chen spoke for the first time. "What are you proposing?" Maya had been waiting for that question. She pulled out 2 documents, placed them side by side on the conference table. Choice 1. Federal Consent Decree. Outside Monitor. 10-year oversight. Estimated cost, $15 million. Complete loss of local control. Every policy decision requires federal approval. Every hiring decision reviewed. Every promotion questioned. She tapped the second document. Choice 2. We reform ourselves. Immediately. Comprehensively. Transparently. Maya slid the reform proposal across the table. 6 sections. Each one detailed. Each one mandatory. Early intervention system. Software flags officers after 2 complaints or 3 use-of-force incidents in 6 months. Mandatory review. Mandatory retraining. Continued patterns result in reassignment or termination. Body cam mandate. 100% activation for all public interactions. Supervisor review of every use-of-force incident within 24 hours. Footage uploaded to public portal within 72 hours. Privacy protections for victims observed. Community Oversight Board, 9 members. Real subpoena power. Real authority to review complaints. Recommend discipline. Access all department records, not advisory. Binding recommendations that require written explanation if rejected. The city attorney leaned forward. "Chief, even if we agree to this, implementation takes months. Training, procurement, policy review. I've been planning this for 6 weeks. Maya opened her laptop, turned it so they could see. Training modules ready. Software for the intervention system already purchased. Community Oversight Board candidates already vetted. I have 9 people willing to serve. 3 recommended by me. 3 by City Council. 3 by community vote. Elections can happen in 30 days. Mayor Chen was reading through the proposal. Smart political mind, calculating angles and outcomes. Finally, she looked up. If we oppose this, what happens? Maya didn't hesitate. I file the consent decree paperwork this afternoon. Judge Morrison reviews it tomorrow. Federal monitor assigned within a week. You lose all local control. That's blackmail, Kowalski said. That's consequence. I gave you 3 months to fix this voluntarily. Your officers spent that time assaulting your new chief. Choice made. The room fell silent. Webb was angry but scared. Kowalski was defiant but calculating. The city attorney was already thinking about liability. The mayor was thinking about her re-election campaign. Maya pulled out a final file. Termination hearings within 30 days. Full investigation. Public proceedings. If the evidence supports it, they're fired for cause. You're railroading them. Kowalski stood up. Due process means something. They'll get every protection the union contract guarantees. Every right the law provides. More rights than they gave me on those courthouse steps. Maya stood too, matched his energy. But let me be clear. If the investigation shows what I think it will show, if the pattern holds, if the body cams support what the witnesses saw, then yes, they're done. And anyone else with similar patterns is next. She looked at each person in the room. I'm not here to destroy careers. I'm here to protect a community. Sometimes those goals align. Sometimes they don't. Your officers made me choose sides before I'd unpacked my office. Commissioner Webb finally spoke. His voice was tired, defeated. If we fight you on this, you'll release everything. All the settlements, all the footage, all the complaints we've buried. I'm releasing it anyway. Transparency isn't negotiable. The question is whether we control the narrative or the Department of Justice does. Mayor Chen put down the proposal. I'm inclined to support Chief Richardson's plan. She looked at Webb. David, you've been commissioner for 20 years. You've done good work. But this is your legacy moment. You can be the commissioner who fought reform or the one who led it. Choose carefully. Webb stared at the table. 2 decades of work. 2 decades of political capital. 2 decades of relationships with officers who'd vote against him if he sided with Maya. But also 2 decades of watching settlements pile up. 2 decades of knowing something was broken and not fixing it. He nodded slowly. I'll support the reform package. The reforms rolled out fast. Week 1. The early intervention system went live. Software flagged 23 officers immediately. 7 went to mandatory retraining. 4 were placed on desk duty, pending psychological evaluation. The union filed grievances. Maya denied them with detailed written explanations. The union filed again. She denied again. They took it to arbitration. She won. Week 3. The public dashboard launched. Real-time statistics. Every traffic stop logged by race, age, outcome. Every use of force incident documented with footage links. Every complaint filed and tracked through resolution. The website crashed in the first hour. 47,000 people tried to access it simultaneously. By end of week, the dashboard had 230,000 unique visitors. Week 5. Community Oversight Board formed. 9 members as promised. The board included a public defender, a pastor who'd been vocal about police issues for years, a retired teacher who'd watched too many students get arrested at school, a small business owner tired of seeing customers harassed, and a civil rights attorney who'd sued the department twice and won both times. First meeting drew 400 residents, standing room only. People testified for 3 hours. Stories of traffic stops, stories of force, stories of disrespect and dehumanization and fear. Maya sat in the back and listened. Took notes. Let the community speak without interruption. Day 12. Disciplinary hearing. Public proceeding. Live streamed as promised. Daniels sat with his union attorney. The attorney tried every angle. Honest mistake. Tense situation. Split-second decisions. He'd have done the same thing to anyone acting suspiciously. Maya testified. She was calm, detailed, walked through every moment, every word she'd said, every attempt at de-escalation, every compliance with orders. The panel had seen the footage. Her testimony just confirmed what their eyes showed them. The vote was 4-1. Termination with cause. Loss of pension benefits for conduct violations. Permanent flag in the state employment system preventing rehire at any department in the state. Harris got the same verdict 3 hours later. His hearing was shorter. His attorney had less to work with. The footage was just as bad. The pattern in his file was worse. Harris spoke at the end. His voice was bitter. You got what you wanted. Happy now? Maya looked at him directly. I wanted officers who protect everyone equally. I still don't have that, but I'm building it. Asterisk, asterisk. Think about this for a moment. Maya Richardson had every reason to burn the whole system down. She had the power, the evidence, the public support. But instead, she chose to rebuild it. What does that tell you about real leadership? Let me know in the comments. Asterisk, asterisk. Month 3. Officer survey results came back. Anonymous. To protect honesty. 34% supported the reforms. 41% were neutral or waiting to see results. 25% opposed strongly. 12 officers resigned. 8 were retirement eligible and took the chance to leave. 4 transferred to other departments. Maya let them go without a fight. Better to lose resistors than keep saboteurs. But recruiting numbers told a different story. Applications up 67%. Demographic shift was dramatic. 43% of new applicants were people of color. Previous rate was 18%. Women applicants doubled. People wanted to work for a department that matched their values. Jake Daniels tried to salvage his career. He did a podcast interview. Sympathetic host, conservative audience. He claimed Maya had used her race as a weapon, set him up, made him a scapegoat for systemic problems he didn't create. The recording went viral, but it backfired. Comment sections tore him apart. People had watched the footage, seen his smirk, heard his tone. His victim narrative didn't match the video evidence. Day 90. Daniels applied to a neighboring township department. Their chief called Maya for a reference. She gave it honestly, detailed the incident, shared the investigation file, made no recommendation either way. The township chief thanked her for the transparency. Application denied. William Harris took a different path. Month 4, he requested a meeting with Maya. Neutral location, coffee shop downtown. Maya agreed but brought Martinez as witness. Harris looked like he'd aged 10 years. I don't expect forgiveness, but I want to understand. Understand what? How I became that person on those steps. They talked for 2 hours. Maya explained systems and training and cultural messaging. Harris talked about his nephews. Black kids. Teenagers now. He'd thought about them watching that video. Thought about what they'd learn about their uncle. Maya made an offer. Conditional. Complete bias training. Work with community programs. Write training scenarios showing wrong approaches. Help teach new cadets what not to do. As what? Harris asked. I'm fired. As a consultant. Paid position. If you're serious. Month 6. Harris began work with the police academy. How not to police seminars. Using his own body cam footage. Watching himself make mistakes. Explaining his thought process. Showing cadets the consequences. One cadet asked why he'd do this. Harris answered honestly. Because I can't undo what I did, but maybe I can prevent the next one. 1 year later, Maya stood at her office window. The statistics report sat on her desk. Use of force incidents, down 41%. Racial disparity in traffic stops, down 28%. Citizen complaints, down 53%. Complaint resolution time, down from 94 days to 22 days. Community trust survey, approval up from 34% to 61%. Not perfect, not finished, but measurably better, quantifiably different. The kind of progress that can't be dismissed or denied, that exists in black and white numbers on official reports. The Department of Justice formally withdrew its consent decree recommendation, sent a letter praising the reforms, calling Jefferson's transformation a model for voluntary compliance, asked permission to use Jefferson as a case study for other troubled departments across the nation. Police Executive Research Forum published a report, Reform Without Federal Intervention. Maya was invited to testify before Congress. 18 other departments requested consultations. The model was spreading. Other chiefs who'd watched her story were finding courage to push their own reforms. She walked the courthouse steps one morning. Justice Plaza now, officially renamed. A small plaque had been installed against her wishes. City Council overruled her. In recognition that reform often begins with those willing to experience the system they seek to change. She touched the marble where her blood had stained it. Someone had cleaned it thoroughly. No trace remained. But she remembered. She'd always remember. A teenager approached. Black girl, maybe 15, school backpack slung over one shoulder. Are you the chief? I am. My dad says, you're why he feels safe calling police now. Maya felt something break open in her chest. Something warm. Something that felt like hope taking root where cynicism had lived for too long. Your dad and people like him are why I do this. Every single day. The girl smiled and kept walking, disappearing into the morning crowd of people going about their normal lives in a city that was slowly, painfully, becoming what it had always promised to be. Maya watched her go. Thought about all the black girls who'd walk these steps in the future. Thought about them not having to fear the people sworn to protect them. That was the work. The real work. Not revenge. Not punishment. Not tearing down institutions out of anger. Protection. Building something better from within. Creating a system that actually serves the people it claims to serve. Her phone buzzed. Martinez texting. Always efficient. Always on top of things. Another department requesting a consultation. Small town in Ohio. Pattern of complaints. Chief who wanted to fix things before federal intervention. Maya added it to her calendar. The work continued. She'd given 53 speeches in the past year. The message was always the same. Reform isn't about destroying departments. It's about rebuilding trust. It's about making the badge mean protection for everyone, not just some people. In her last interview, a reporter asked if it was worth it. Being assaulted, humiliated, recorded at her lowest moment. Maya's answer was simple. I didn't win because I fought back with violence. I won because I had data. I had patience. I had a plan. You can't punch data. You can't intimidate statistics. You can't badge your way out of transparency. The system that brutalized her didn't burn down. She rewired it. Because ashes don't protect communities. Structure does. This story matters because it shows us what's possible when someone refuses to accept the way things are. When someone takes the worst day of their life and transforms it into the first day of something better. Maya Richardson didn't just survive what happened on those courthouse steps. She used it. Asterisk, asterisk. If this story moved you, I want to hear about it. Drop a comment below and tell me what you're thinking right now. What would you have done in Maya's position? How do you think real change happens in America? Asterisk, asterisk. Real-life stories like this one remind us that change is possible. That the system, no matter how broken, can be rebuilt by people with the courage to demand better. Now it's your turn. Comment below about injustice you've witnessed. Share this video with someone who needs to remember that change is possible. And if you believe that reform can happen when regular people refuse to accept that's just how things are, then subscribe to RealTales. The difference between oppression and liberation is often just one person who refuses to be silent. Be that person. Be the change the system can't ignore. Be the voice that refuses to stay silent when silence is easier. Be the person who sees injustice and decides that today is the day it stops. Asterisk, asterisk. Thank you for watching, for listening, and for being part of this community at RealTales. If you made it this far, do me a favor, hit that like button, subscribe to RealTales if you haven't already, and share this video with someone who needs to hear this story. Your engagement helps these stories reach more people who need them. Drop a comment and tell me where you're watching from. I read every single one, and I'll see you in the next one. Until then, stay strong, stay aware, and never stop demanding better from the systems that are supposed to protect us all. Asterisk, asterisk.